Welcome in, race fans, to another Tuesday night right here on the Royalty Racing Network. Tonight, we got the Top Tier Racing League, Tricia's Learning Center Gen 4 Series, live from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm going to be your host tonight. Same as last week, the week before, and the week before that. I go by the name of Brandon Massey. Tonight, we're going to be at Charlotte. We're going to be battling for a championship. We only have 3 races left, including tonight. Tonight, when we finish, we're going to be heading out to Tennessee, where we're going to head to the last great Coliseum known as Bristol. And then from there, we're going to head out west, where these drivers are going to roll the dice and take a chance on who becomes our season champion, and we'll finish there at Las Vegas. And when I take a look at the points, race fans, for the fans at home right now, we have a very tight battle. Dylan Canova, and you can see he's in his qualifying attempt right now, sets atop the point standing, but by a mere 10 points. Leading over top, Christian Proctor, 2,096 to 2,086, but Nick Raffini in the 04 has made up some ground and has moved himself within about 23 points, and about 24 points behind is Kenny Kuko. And then you got Matt Baines, JD Van Kirk, Nick Baum, Jorge Ledesma Jr., Robert Altman, Jake Raven, David Shively, and Zach White, all contenders for a championship. And you can see the remaining rest of the field there. But when I take a look at this points battle, after some of the struggles that Dylan had last week, he's going to have to put his head down and put together a solid drive tonight if he plans to hold on to that points lead. He was the fastest driver in practice, but I can tell you Christian Proctor was inside the top 5. Kenny Kuko was inside the top 5. Anderson also was inside the top 5. So got a lot of heavy hitters here tonight. And then we have 2-time back-to-back race winner Brock Morris signed in as well. I believe he was 6th quick in practice. Dylan Canova out there taking his qualifying runs right now. Here's Kenny Kuko. Kenny, at one point in time, had the fastest lap in practice right now, currently 3rd quick. And you can see by that leaderboard, only 2. Actually, Kenny goes to the top there. What a blazer by Kenny. Just put down a 29.77. That's 2 1,000ths of a second better than what Dylan put down. Here's the back-to-back race winners we've had. Michigan, Road America. We know the dominating performance that he had at Road America. That was really at no surprise to any of us. If you've been following the series, you know Brock is bad fast at the road courses. He did pick up a win at Michigan in his hometown. And now he's out here still learning ovals. He said he doesn't have a lot of time on ovals, but he's going to put a lot of time in to learn what he can learn. I'm super excited about the next 3 weeks. Now that we have the ringer out of the way, we know Dylan had a little bit of trouble last week. Christian was able to finish inside the top 3 and make up a little bit of points, and now there's only a 10-point difference. And when coming into this race, we know Dylan talked about, a couple weeks ago, that the next 3, Charlotte, Bristol, Las Vegas, is winnable races, he feels like, for him. But in the same conversation that we've had with Christian Proctor, he too feels like that these next 3 races are really good racetracks for him. And then when I talk to Kenny also seems to think that these next 3 races is going to be good ones for him. So a lot of drivers hoping for some really good runs. And I know no driver is wishing ill intent on any driver out here within the series. Some of these guys may have to have some bad luck for some of these guys, 4th, 5th, 6th in points to really start to gain some traction and gain some momentum. And we've seen coming into last week, the points difference was by about, I believe it was like 15, 16, 17. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but now we're only at a 10-point difference between 1st and 2nd. And then it's only like a 20-point difference between 2nd and 3rd. So Brock right now goes to P5. And I can tell you, race fans, for the race fans at home, I've been watching these guys in practice. And when I can tell you, we're going to have a really good race tonight. These race cars are super slick. I feel like that there's going to be a high line come into play. I think it's going to be tough to pass on the bottom down in 3 and 4. I think the high line in 3 and 4 is going to be the way to get around this mile and a half here at Charlotte. So it's going to be interesting to see how this entire thing plays out. I do want to say I apologize for the mic errors last week and being muted. We got to see some really good action and hear from all the drivers. Luckily enough, they was not muted. So I do apologize for that. And I promised I will do better, and I will do better. It's unacceptable. I beat myself up, if you want to know the truth. When the race was over, I went into my living room and told my wife that I made a huge mistake. So for the race fans at home, I apologize. We got a few people in the chat already. Good luck to everyone tonight. Let's go Hyperspeed and Raven. And Rachel is in here. Go JD. This is your week. So JD is expecting to have a good run from that comment. JD was top 10 in practice. I think he was P7, P8, somewhere about in that area. So I believe we have 14 drivers signed in tonight. Here's JD. I know I've said this before, Rachel, but JD's probably the only number 22 that I would be a fan of. Also, for the race fans at home, let me know if you got to watch the NASCAR Championship weekend this past weekend. I'd like to know y'all's thoughts. Drop that in the comments. Let me know if y'all got to watch it, check it out. I'm a Larson fan, so I was excited. However, I am heartbroken for Denny, and I can somewhat relate, you know, his father being ill and those types of things. So I can relate. Last Thursday, I found out that my dad has stage 5 chronic kidney disease to go along with heart disease, and it's been a trying time for my family, and so I can relate. So I'm somewhat heartbroken for Denny. Although I'm not a Hamlin fan, I am heartbroken from a personal standpoint. So we're going to have a good race tonight, though. I just feel it. I just feel it. We're going to have a good race tonight. Each week, leading into the final rounds of the chase, right? The playoffs, whatever you want to call it. Each week, you can tell that these drivers have been putting in track time. They've been getting onto the sim and going and laying down laps and practicing and turning laps. And it's showing. It really is. It's showing. Going into Road America, I really thought that we were going to have several of these drivers really with some major hiccups, and they just didn't. Dylan battled back all night long last week at Road America. Was able to finish inside the top 5 was Dylan Canova last week. Right now, though, Jake Raven's the fastest in this little warm-up session. This is where they do their drivers meeting, little fun warm-up deal. I appreciate that, Rachel. Thank you so much. A couple leagues that I get a race in has done some really cool stuff with some windshield banners and things like that. So all the support means everything to me and the family, and I definitely appreciate it. I don't want to talk on it too much because I will get emotional, and I don't need to be crying in the booth. We got a playoff race that we got to call tonight, Rachel. So I definitely appreciate you. Matt Baines went to the top of the leaderboard currently. Again, this means absolutely nothing. It's just a little fun run. These drivers just getting a last little bit of a feel. And I know we're going to have a good race tonight. I can feel it in my bones. I'm excited for this one. I've been excited for this one since I got to see the playoff schedule. And also, too, next week, I'm really excited about... Whoa! Oh, I'm really excited about Bristol. I can tell you these Gen 4 cars at Bristol is going to be a rip, and I'm excited about it. The warm-up is over. That means we're going to get these cars gridded, and we're going to be going racing. Let's get into tonight's starting grid. On pole, driver the number 71, Kenny Kuko. Starting outside him, our current points leader, driver the number 70 out of Revved Up Racing, Hyperspeed Motorsports, going to be Dylan Canova. Starting third, driving the number 67, it's going to be Alex Anderson. Starting fourth, driving the number 13, it's going to be Christian Proctor. Starting fifth, driving the 05 is going to be Brock Morris. Starting sixth, driver the number 51 was also pretty quick in practice out of the Revved Up Racing camp. It's going to be Jacob Wilson. Starting seventh, driver the number 72, it's going to be Matt Baines. Starting eighth, driver the number 22, it's going to be JD Van Kirk. Starting ninth, driver the number 94, it's going to be Robert Altman. Starting 10th, driver the number 85, it's going to be Davis Shively. Starting 11th, driving the number 37, Hyperspeed Motorsports, Jake Raven. Starting 12th, out of Revved Up Racing, number 44, Jorge Ledesma Jr. Starting 13th, driving the number 55, Dan Ames. Starting 14th, driving the number 04, Nick Raffini. That will be your Royalty Racing Network Tricia's Learning Center Gen 4 starting grid. The lights is out on the pace car. These drivers have them belts pulled tight. We are in round number 3 of the chase. All this throughout the night, 150 laps. I know they added a few more laps to make tonight's race a little bit longer, I do believe. I don't think 150 laps was the scheduled distance. It could be, and I could be wrong when I say that, but 150 laps, 14 drivers, 12 drivers chasing a championship. The two on the front row is two of the chase drivers. Kenny Kuko now has the control in his hand. We are underway at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Tricia's Learning Center Gen 4 Series, live from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. You can see very quickly that run off the top for Dylan actually played a little bit of dividend there. I talked about that in the pre-race. I felt like the outside line was going to be able to gain quite a bit of momentum. Kenny under fire is actually going to let Alex Anderson squeak on through there, move Alex up a spot. Kenny's going to try to cross over here if he can get his quarter. Again, I think it's just going to be tough to pass on the bottom of 3 and 4. I think the outside line is going to be where you're going to want to be. But right there, Kenny was actually able to get a little bit of a run off on the 67. However, Anderson with the momentum is going to be able to hold that position. You can see this battle right here was tight. Brock Morris, Christian Proctor side by side. That last time by, caught that just out the corner of the screen. Right now, single file moved Brock up one spot. Christian Proctor's back one from their starting positions respectively. Right now, we're pretty much single filed out. We expected that to happen very quickly. 150 laps, unsure of the fuel mileage. We'll get that as this race goes on. We're talking about Dylan Canova. I got to hop in these guys' team channels this week, and before the race started while they was in practice, and I went to every team channel and I told them, I said, hey, good luck tonight. Have fun. Promise not to be on mute during interviews. But I got the chance to talk to Dylan just a little bit, and I told him, I said, man, with a 10-point lead, you got to put the head down and go to work. And he said, absolutely. And right now he's doing that. He's showing the way. Again, how aggressive do you want to be on tires? We have 150 laps. And Christian's going to set up Brock here for a run. Now, can he carry that momentum through the bottom? In fact, he's going to be able to. You can see the 0.5 a little bit loose there on the exit. So we'll keep an eye on that. One of the fastest drivers we had in practice, Jacob Wilson. He's currently riding in the 5th position. Kenny has dropped several spots. I'm not sure what happened to Kenny. Right now, he's back in the 6th position. You know, if maybe he got loose, or maybe this is by design, if he's just saving tire. I'm not 100% sure. Behind him, you got Matt Baines, JD Van Kirk. Currently riding in the 8th position. Robert Altman. Davis Shively. Just the dirty air off these cars. Move these cars around so much. They're already loose. So with an aero-sensitive car, much like this one is. Where's Nick going? He might be in a start and park type of situation. I'm not sure what's going on with him. I didn't show for any type of a black flag. And he was one of the quicker cars we had in practice. Well, they're jacking the car up. I'm not 100% sure, but that will put him a lap down. So we'll try to keep an eye on that, figure out what's going on with Raffini. No change out front, though. Dylan Canova still leads away. Alex Anderson's actually starting to close that gap just a little bit. Christian Proctor currently riding in 3rd. Brock Morris 5th. Jacob Wilson 4th. Brock Morris 4th. Jacob Wilson 5th. Kenny's kind of reset here just a little bit. Trying to run these guys down. Charlotte's a really fun racetrack to visit. I try to go to the Coke 600 about every year. It puts on a really, really good show. And I just get this nostalgia feeling to me when we come to places like this, especially in the Gen 4. You can see how out of the racetrack the back end of the 71 is there. A little scrape on the outside wall on the exit. Nothing too major. But every time these Gen 4s hit the racetrack, Kenny's also off the pace. I'm so confused right now. Him. Okay, so Nick, I believe, has retired from the race. Or at least he's still sitting in the car. We'll see when we get by here. And Nick's no longer in the car, so it might be an exit for him. Our pole sitter with a lot of troubles, and in fact missed his pit box a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on there. Right now the lead for Dylan staying steady at about 6-7 tenths right now. Not really gaining anything on second. And in fact, by my scoring and timing, Dylan, Anderson, Christian, Brock, and Jacob all within 4 1,000ths of a second of each other. Include Matt Baines into that conversation as well. So the top 6, all within 4 1,000ths of a second of each other. Absolutely insane how the top 7, they're just matching lap times right now. Again, Dylan Canova 30.62, Alex Anderson 30.64. Christian was a little bit slower. Brock Morris 30.62, matching the pace of the current race leader. So the race lead staying pretty steady. These drivers matching lap times. Here's a big battle. You got Altman, Shively, you got Raven all right here together. Big run for Raven though. Is he going to be able to get his outside? He's not. Let's see if he elects to stay on the outside here. Just look how loose those race cars are. Jake's going to have a big run here off the exit. If he can keep the car steady, yeah, he's going to have a big run. I think at this point in the race, that outside line's where you're going to want to run. I just don't, I think it's going to take, it's just, the car's too out of the racetrack, just doesn't have enough grip to run the bottom. Middle high, I think if you want to make lap time and pass cars, that's where you got to do it. Move Jake up one spot. He's got Altman in his sights. I'm going to show you. Let me show you. Just watch how out of the racetrack this race car is, especially on exit. You can see it out of the 94. All right, so it wasn't as bad that time for the 37. You could see it out of the 94 quite a bit. A little bit of wall touch there. No harm, no foul. Look at this run, though. He's got a big run. Look right there. How out of the racetrack that car is. Just that bobble. I've seen that a couple of times out of the 37. But he's not the only one having that same trouble. All these drivers are having around that same issue. And what was a pretty good run through the center, entry center, just didn't prevail on exit for him. I'd really like to see him run that middle high. I really think. Yeah, look at this run. 30. Oh, the 94 really loose there. Just plumb. I mean, I've showed it a couple of times, race fans, how out of the racetrack that is. A big save, though. Very big save for Robert Altman right there. Davis is trying to figure out how to get around him as well. Look at that. That higher entry just to generate such a run. So move Jake Raven up a couple more spots. That's going to put him inside P7 or P8 right now. He's going to be P8 as a run. I don't want to. So Dylan's been able to extend his race lead a little bit. He's out to by about a second and a half. I believe that might have been some troubles out of the 67 there on exit. Yeah, look at that. Look how loose that car is on exit. Let's go on board. Just watching for counter steer. There it is. There it is. That car's just loose, race fans. Brock Morris, move him up to third. He's tracking. Oh, that car just tight on entry. That explains why it's super loose center exit. Loose all the way through the tri-oval. I mean, he's putting a lot of counter steer into this machine, even through the tri-oval. Is Alex Anderson. Yeah, he's just got, his car is ill handling as it can be. That's allowed Brock Morris to close extremely quick. That car is tight on entry. It's loose center exit. And the reason that makes that is because you're putting so much wheel input in it to try to get the car to enter that once it settles and starts to rotate, it just snaps free and loose. And typically what happens when you have an ill handling race car that's that loose on the bottom, you start to search around to see if maybe by chance running the middle, maybe running the high line actually helps that car enter, helps that car. And in fact, it didn't right there for Alex. So move Brock Morris up. Won last week, won at Michigan, has won 2 in a row now. Has actually moved himself up as one of the all-time winners here in the series. I seen that information come out earlier today. Let's see if I can find it again. Yeah, in fact, the most winningest driver we have right now is Dylan Canova, but move Brock Morris up to 4th. 8 total wins here in top tier racing does Brock Morris have. Alex Anderson has 3. Christian Proctor has 4. Kenny Kuko has 4. A lot of these names we see out here racing tonight has a lot of wins here. Kenny, what happened? If you wanna hop in and come up here and join me in the booth, man, you're more than welcome. So move Brock Morris up. In fact, right now, Brock is a little bit faster than Dylan Canova. And he's about a 10th quicker right now. That lead holds out to about 2.3 seconds. Couple drivers hitting pit road. Dan Ames hitting pit road. Kenny's car's still in pit road. He's in the chat. He's in the YouTube chat, and he's sitting down here on pit road. We'll keep an eye on this lead. Right now, Brock has a pretty fast ride. Jacob Wilson, move him up to P3. Alex Anderson, I'm not sure what happened to Alex. He jumped to pit road. Had a fast run going. So Jacob Wilson will move the 3rd. Christian Proctor 4th. Jake Raven, he's been working himself through the field. Move him up to P5. Matt Baines P6. JD Van Kirk P7. Davis Shively P8. Robert Altman P9. Jorge Ledesma Jr. 10th. These race cars just loose as can be. We're 30 laps into this run. I'm beginning to wonder when pit lane, or the pit window starts to open for these drivers. Dylan has to be watching that relative, knowing right now that Brock Morris has been a little bit quicker than him the last couple of laps. So when is the pit window? And Dylan's done exactly, I mentioned this, right? Dylan's done exactly what I've talked about. He's moved to the top side of the racetrack, at least in 3 and 4. We'll see what he runs down here in 1 and 2. Yeah, he's going to run that middle lane. About a lane off the bottom. He's trying to help that car rotate. Brock has been a little bit quicker. Not too much quicker, though. He's cutting into that. That leads down to about 2 seconds. It was 2.3. So Jacob Wilson's on pit road. This tells me that maybe the pit window's starting to open just a little bit. So we'll see. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Once they hit pit road the first time, I'll have a little bit of an idea of what the fuel strategy is going to be. Dylan coming through the bottom. This may be a pit road stop. It is not. He's going to throttle up. Almost a tenth quicker was Brock Morris. I'm keeping an eye on that. Jake's slowly starting to reel in Christian Proctor, though. He was 0.3 faster that last lap, and he's there. See what Jake does. He's actually going to go to the bottom. He's going to rotate the bottom really well. That's one of the better rotating cars I've seen through that portion of 3 and 4. Loose on exit, though. He's going to lose a little bit of time. Well, the 13 is going to go high here. It's going to allow Jake, if he can keep it under him. He was able to. They're going to be even. He's got his quarter. I still think this is going to be a hard pass. I think that run off the top side. Yeah, just see how loose that 37 is. He tries to throttle back up. He just can't. Just cannot get the tire grip that he's needing. Exiting that low. He's got a faster car than Christian does right now. This is what makes this car so much fun. This Gen 4. For the race fans at home, let me just tell you. This is what makes this car so much fun to watch. Right now, I can tell you for sure, and for the race fans at home, we know Jake has a faster car right now as it runs. But that low line just cannot carry the momentum. He might actually get it done here this time. He's not going to, though. He's not going to be able to slide his nose. Christian's going to get the run off again. Update, the race lead is now under 1 second. We'll get back to that battle. There, Jake got around him. We're going to get back to this battle. Brock Morris is slowly starting to reel in race leader Dylan Canova. Dylan is extremely loose on the exit of turn 2 there. That's the same thing we've seen with Alex. He's coming to pit road. Brock's coming with him. So at lap 38, coming to 39, these drivers have elected to hit pit road. Jake is on a run right now, race fans, because he's got to the back bumper of Jacob Wilson. So Canova's on pit road. Morris is on pit road. Christian Proctor hit pit road. JD Van Kirk hit pit road. Davis Shiley hit pit road. Actually, Jake Revan is the race leader. Jacob Wilson just unlapped himself. He was already on pit road. He came at pit road at lap 31. I missed that. Brock Morris speeding on pit road. That will be a pass-through penalty. Too fast exiting pit road. I am showing a black flag. That's the one mistake that he did not want to make. He's going to have to slow that car up and bring it back down. This will be a pass-through penalty. And that is costly. Was the fastest car on the racetrack later in that run. And you can see for the Brock Morris fans at home, he's taking that long drive down. And a lot of these races here in top tier have green flag feels to them. I don't think he has to stop in his box. I don't think he has to be held. It is just passed through. This may not necessarily clear. This may not necessarily clear this black flag. We'll keep an eye on it. Jake Raven hit pit road. He's led the last couple. Now, Jacob Wilson has jumped Dylan Canova and by a margin. However, the last time by, Jacob was faster. We'll keep an eye on this. He was on pit road at lap 31. Canova, Proctor, Baines, all on pit road at 38. Raven's now on pit road. He's going to have really, really fresh tires, or a lot fresher tires. That's by about 3 laps. Brock may be getting held for 40 seconds here. I didn't think that that was the call. In fact, it was. So that was a 40-second hold, not a pass through for Brock. One of the very few mistakes we've seen him make. The turn race lead over to Robert Altman. Still hasn't hit pit road as they run. Now you can see Van Kirk right there. Shively right behind him. They're unlapping themselves. Here comes Brock. He just got off pit road. So turn race lead over to Jacob Wilson. Once this thing cycles out, and there it is. So he will become race leader. Now, again, he was on pit road by about 7 laps sooner than Dylan Canova. And with that, that's given him about a 2.8 second lead over top of Dylan. Now, respectively, Dylan's been about 3/10 quicker the last couple of laps in terms of watching lap time. So, and then some 10 seconds behind Dylan is Christian Proctor. And then Jake Raven, he's going to have really fresh tires, and he came out in P4. So a net gain for Jake. Had a fast car through that latter portion of that run before the green flag cycle started. And I think that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think he's got 17 seconds to make up. So we'll timestamp it right now, lap 45-46. We'll see how much time that he can make up. Right now, that race leads down to about 2.3, so about a half second over the last lap that Dylan was able to make up. And in fact, that shows to be true. He was about a half second quicker than Jacob Wilson, at least by the timing and scoring. So after the green flag cycles, Jacob Wilson has taken over the lead. Dylan Canova second, Christian Proctor third, Jake Raven fourth. JD Van Kirk has found himself inside the top 5 after those pit road cycles. Hold on to it, JD. Davis Shively 6th, Matt Bain 7th, Jorge Ledesma Jr. 8th, Robert Altman 9th, Brock Morris, the first car, a couple of laps down in 10th. Alex Anderson, Dan Ames, Kenny Kuko, Nick Raffini rounds out the remaining 14. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the action right here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. While we were in our first commercial break, we do have a caution on the raceway. I'm not 100% sure as to why that we was under a caution. I never got nothing in terms of anyone wrecking, other than it showed Matt Baines went off the race surface. We'll take a look at it here and see if this is possibly why. Yep, right there it is. So you can see, great job by Davis Shively not making any contact there. Matt is actually going to be able to drive that thing out of there, but that will, I believe, bring out the caution. Great job not hitting anything or anybody. So this works out for Jacob. You can see Jorge Ledesma Jr. getting a lap back there. I believe this works out for Jacob. However, none of these drivers elected to come to pit road. So maybe the pit road isn't open. I'm surprised they've let that lucky dog around. So I would assume pit road would be open. However, this works out for Jacob. Jacob was being caught rather quickly. Dylan Canova, Christian Proctor, this actually works out for him. He was about 13 seconds behind. Now, Jake Raven, I really wanted to see what kind of run that Jake Raven could put together there, because he had one of the faster cars towards the latter part of that first green flag cycle we had. And now this works out actually pretty well for him and for JD. Kind of reset this race. Now we're going to reset. A lot of these drivers, everybody except Jacob, is all around the same pit strategy. Dylan Canova last time on pit road was lap 38. Christian Proctor lap 38. Jake Raven lap 41. JD was on pit road at lap 38. Davis Shively lap 38. Jorge Ledesma Jr. lap 40. He's going to be back on the lead lap here. And if these drivers don't pit, that tells me drivers like Jake Raven, if he didn't run hard, he's going to have a little bit better tires than some of these cars in front of him. This may not actually work out for Jacob. 7 lap old tires did not, now that I think about it, really didn't need a caution there. This is rather interesting. Only have 4 sets, so they have to be careful with the extra 50 laps that we do at Charlotte. Thank you, Kenny, for the inside there. Also, happy birthday to your sister. From Royalty Racing Network, Top Tier Racing League, Tricia's Learning Center Gen 4 Series, we say happy birthday to Kenny's sister. We do have a Brock Morris fan in here. I read that. So that gives me a little bit more info, race fans. For the race fans at home, they only have 4 sets of tires to cover 150 laps. I can see why they didn't pit there. Perfect. You're my Larry Mack, Kenny, and I appreciate you. All right. The lights is out on the pace car. That's going to turn the control over to Jacob. This is actually worst case scenario for Jacob after I've got to think about it. 7 lap holder tires. This is going to be an interesting restart, though, for the race fans at home. We got to keep an eye on wheel spin, those types of things. The pace car takes that hard left-hand turn. That turns control over to Jacob Wilson. He's going to get down inside the restart zone. You can see it right there, and the green flag is back out. And we are back underway from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. I believe there was some wheel spin there, and maybe not. Maybe Jake just being extra careful. You can see Dylan did that same thing at the start of the race to Kenny. Just was able to hold that middle line on that restart. But again, those 7 lap holder tires, I believe, is kind of the cause to that. I think if you're Christian Proctor and you're Jake Raven, you got to try to get around this 51 pretty quick. Dylan was able to run away from Christian. The only contender that he really had coming through the field before the green flag cycle started was Brock Morris. So I think it's imperative that Proctor, Raven, Matt Baines, JD Van Kirk, I think there's JD. Why? Well, JD was inside the top 5. Oh, he's got heavy damage. Again, nothing showed up down inside my relative down here for me to know what happened to JD. And I wasn't going to say anything about JD. I wasn't going to give him the commentator curse. So Christian has gotten around Jacob. Now here comes Jake Raven. He's trying to get around Jacob. Brock Morris is a couple laps down. Davis Shively crashed. Let's take a look here. See what happened. Loose, fighting loose, still loose. Yeah, still loose, still trying to say. There it goes. And this doesn't bring out a caution, though. I'm suspecting that's kind of what happened to maybe JD. Something in similar terms, just because JD didn't have a front bumper. Okay, so let's recap. We got Dylan back out front, Christian Proctor, Jake Raven. Jacob needs to try to hold on here for everything he's got. I suspect here in about 5 or 6 laps, he's going to come to pit road. That'll put him around that same area that he was in. You got Matt Baines, Jorge Ledesma Jr. There comes JD with no front end. Again, I had nothing show up on JD, so I'm not 100% sure what happened to him. There's Brock. Brock's trying to unlap himself. Brock got caught speeding on pit road, had to be held. He's still kind of learning ovals, though. This closest battle we have. Jacob trying to fight, just doesn't have the tires to fight it. That caution really hurt him. Actually had that information backwards. With his pit strategy and that caution, it kind of upset his strategy a little bit. So no change out front right now. Christian trying to track down Dylan Canova. Move Jake Raven up to third. Matt has gotten around Jacob. Now the question becomes, when does Jacob elect to come to pit road, right? I mean, he was last on pit road at lap 31. If he was to come now, that would be that same time frame as what he pitted the last time. Again, only 4 sets of tires. I think if he wants to get back on strategy, a pit within the next 2 to 3 laps would probably be ideal. Get him to 65 if he was to run 40. That would put him at 105. He actually probably needs to run about 4 or 5 more laps. Probably needs to get to about lap 70 if he can. Robert Altman is a lap down, so this is not going to be for position. Just talking strategy out loud. I think ideally for Jacob, if he was able to hold on for about 5 more laps to then hit pit road and then come in about 35 to 40, he could get to the end. Jake is slowly starting to reel in that 13. That was a weird exit right there too, in around JD there. If JD didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck. I just feel like that bad luck has bitten him all through this chase in the last couple races of the regular season. We're going to have a battle for position, though. Take a look at lap times. Jake was a little bit slower that time. Dylan right now the fastest car on the racetrack. The fastest car on the racetrack's this guy. He's a couple laps down. He's trying to track down Dylan. Trying to unlap himself. Try to get a caution. Matching lap times for the top two. Raven was actually about 8 thousandths of a second off that time. 8 hundredths of a second off that time. Tell you one guy that elected to come to pit road. Hold on to it, JD. I've been watching him plow through the field right here. Robert Altman, he did come to the pit road at lap 49. And that might be what trapped him a lap down. He's just working on trying to get through the traffic. So it's been a wild race. Some major turn of events. I mean, you can see Altman's a lap down, JD's a lap down, Brock Morris is 2. Davis Shively's on pit road, probably getting his ride fixed from that accident that he was involved in. And then we've lost Anderson, Ames, Kuko, and Raffini. I think if you're Raven right now, just playing a little patience game. There comes Jacob on pit road. So, yeah, so at lap 70, he's elected to hit pit road. I think if he comes at about 40, 35, 40, he'll be able to get to the end. So he'll be able to make it on one more stop. All these other guys should be able to make it on one more stop too, I do believe. I suspect that these guys will run it out probably 8 or 10 more laps. They were last on pit road to lap 38. I'm going to say they're probably going to try to get to lap 80. He's rolling. He might be able to stay on the lead lap here. He might be able to stay on the lead lap. Where's the race leader? There comes the race leader. Oh no, he's not. He did get lapped. Okay. All right, so he's going to have to unlap himself. He'll do that once these leaders hit their green flag stops. You can see Brock has gotten to Dylan. So he's going to try to unlap him, try to get one of his laps back. And then he's going to try to hope for a caution. However, he's going to have to pass about 4 cars to be the first car 1 lap down to get that lucky dog. So maybe Dylan was just going to let him go. There's no reason to put pressure on it here. To me, the smart thing to do would be to just let the 0.5 go. Not wear out your tires. This side by side is gonna hurt those tires quite a bit. Right now, the lead's about 2 1/4 seconds. I want to keep an eye on that. We'll see if that changes. Raven's been substantially quicker than Proctor the last couple of laps. He's got that distance down to about a half second between them. He's going to have another big run off here. So Brock's not been able to get around him. Dylan's still out here racing him. We're very quickly getting into the nighttime. And that's allowed these guys to make up about a quarter second on Dylan. They're still making up a little bit of time. This is what could have been type of scenario, I think, for these two gentlemen. We know before that green flag cycle where that untimely pit road speeding violation come into bite the 05, he was substantially quicker than the 70 of Dylan Canova. I think these guys are just racing it to race. Although if I'm Dylan, I would probably just want to let him go. Truly, I know you know how fast he is and you're trying to keep him a lap down, but you've allowed these guys to make up 3/4 of a second by just racing him. In fact, there he goes. He got around him. Yeah, what was a 2 1/4 second lead is now down, now dropped to a 1 1/4 second. So they made up about a second. And when you allow these drivers to start sniffing that back bumper, they're just going to keep on closing in and closing in. Dylan's coming to pit road. Christian's going to stay out. What does Jake do? Jake's coming with him. Matt's stuck up on the top side of the racetrack. He's going to stay out. Jorge Ledesma Jr. currently right now was inside the top 5. Move him up to P3. So we are in our green flag cycles at lap 80. I'll just play the guessing game with these race fans. I don't really know these guys' strategies. I just base it off of what they do, kind of their first pit stop. So Christian came 1 lap later. I think he got kind of caught off guard, a little bit of surprise. I think he maybe wanted to come to pit road when Dylan and Jake did, but so now move. I was about to say Morris is going to be the first car 1 lap down. In fact, he's not going to be. However, he will be once this green flag cycles plays itself out. So lap 82. We're in a green flag cycle. You can see there comes Dylan. There comes Christian. There comes Jake. They're trying to unlap themselves. Right there's the race leader. Dylan has done so. Matt's coming to pit road. Turn race lead over to Jorge Ledesma Jr. Ooh, that was tight. That's going to cost Jake a ton of time. In amongst those lap cars right there. There comes race leader. Done a really good job getting on and off pit road. So did Jake Raven. Uh-oh, Christian. Hold on to it. To bring Jorge Ledesma down pit road. So now we're back into this situation again, right? And in fact, it's 11 laps difference this time. Jacob came at 68. Dylan at 79. So now, if we don't get a caution, we're going to see exactly how this strategy gets to play out. Now, again, he has about a 5-second lead. Call it 4 3/4 seconds of a lead right now. Now, best case scenario is this race stays green He gets to lap 105 to 110. He's going to need about 25 more laps on this set of tires, I do believe. Jacob Wilson leads Top Tier Racing League Gen 4 Series. Tricia's Learning Center, Charlotte. The no change out front very quickly and rapidly approaching lap number 90. We're going to be at 89 when race leader Jacob Wilson gets back to the start finish line. That will complete 88. We'll be working lap 89, and right there in the screen you can see Dylan Canova is within 1 second of the race leader. So very quickly in a short period of time, that what was 4 3/4 seconds of lead has virtually evaporated. It's been about 6.5 to 7/10 quicker for Dylan Canova the last several laps. Now, again, they're on different strategies, so this ain't the first time we've seen Jacob throw a different strategy out there. I believe he did the same thing at Darlington. Christian has been able to get around Jake Raven to take back over the second place. And there's some, call it 3 1/4 seconds or so from race leader. Put Brock Morris back 2 laps down. Dylan Canova has went back around him. However, if there would be a caution, he would be the first one to be a lucky dog recipient. I do believe Robert Altman's on pit road. Been somewhat of a stellar performance out of Dylan tonight. Again, we talked about it in pre-race. Thought this was one of the races he could win. So did Jacob or Christian Proctor as well. Kenny, our pole sitter, had to go to a birthday party for his sister. And then you got Jake Raven. And I tell you, this guy right here has put on a heck of a drive tonight. He really has. I think he's been one of the better long run cars. You can see here's a battle for second. Now here becomes the question, right? because if Jacob elects to come to pit road at around lap 110, that would be about a 40 lap jaunt to the finish. Now we know they can make it 40. There was drivers made it 41 laps at the beginning of the race. The question becomes, when does Dylan and the rest of these guys elect to come to pit road? Because he's going to have about 20-ish or so fresher laps if he was to come at about lap 110. And so my question would be, when does Dylan, Christian, and Jake decide to hit pit road? Because he's going to be able to make up a ton of track position. Now, they would have the fresher tires, and again, it only took about 5 laps for them to run him down. Morris has went back around race leader Dylan Canova to unlap himself, so move him back to 1 lap down. And then 2 1/4 seconds is about what it's been throughout the night. Christian and Jake is actually running Dylan down that last run before that green flag cycle. And I really believe that Christian has found a little something, because right now he's still running the race leader down. Now Dylan might be saving, but Christian was almost 3/10 quicker. We'll just call it 3/10 that last lap. And Christian's gotten himself into a rhythm these last handful of laps. And maybe it's this nighttime. Maybe the track Tim's cooling down. But he's gotten himself into a little bit of a rhythm, and that lead is slowly starting to dwindle away. He was another 10th quicker that lap. And these are the first and second in points. Again, we'll show it real quick. You can see Dylan, Christian, Nick Raffini, Kenny Kuko, Matt Baines, JD Van Kirk, Nick Baum, Jorge Ledesma Jr., Robert Altman, Jake Raven, Davis Shively, Zach White. That's your contenders. Zach not logged in. But the top 2 in points is first and second right now on the racetrack. They matched lap times that last time by. Jake matching lap times with him. He's about 3 3/4 seconds or so behind race leader right now as they run. Now this is going to be a net game 100% for Jacob Wilson. I think for this strategy to play out and have a chance, he's got to make it at least 10 more laps. But then the question again becomes, when does the race leaders decide to hit pit road if he elects to come before them? But I do believe this is going to be a net game for Jacob. Matt Baines currently riding in 5th. Jorge Ledesma Jr. right there in 6th. And then the first car 1 lap down, Brock Morris 7th, Robert Altman 8th, JD Van Kirk 9th, Davis Shively 10th. That's the top 10. Again, only 10 cars running. Alex Anderson, Dan Ames, Kenny Kuko, Nick Raffini all off racetrack right now and in the garage area. So now it's a hurry and wait situation, race fans, because this next round of pit stops is the money stop, as we like to call it here in the racing world. Got to be able to get on, off pit road, no troubles. We've seen pit road troubles before earlier in the night. So now Dylan's found a little bit of speed. He was a 10th quicker that last time by. He's got the lead back out to about 2 1/4 seconds. But Jake slowly starting to reel in Christian Proctor. He's only about 2 seconds off of him. JD's pit crew has found a replacement bumper to put back on the front of his number 22. Took them quite a bit of time to repair that car, but they have done it. It's the one thing I can appreciate about this league is I don't think there's any fast repairs. I like that. I think drivers race a little bit more respectively when they don't have a fast repair to fall back on. That race leads out to about 3 seconds now. Dylan's been substantially quicker the last couple laps. So mark that out to about 3 seconds. However, Jake Raven is in within about a second and a half on Christian Proctor. Now, here's something else to think about, race fans, also too. Because as we get into, you know, lap 110 area, Christian could very well elect to come to pit road a lap sooner, maybe 2 laps sooner, and try to hold off Dylan. I think the magic number is lap 110. That's going to be 40-41 to the finish. I've always said you can't win the race doing the same thing that the leader's doing. I think you got to kind of gamble a little bit. Jacob's still in 4th. Matt. Yeah, Matt Baines is some distance behind Jacob. Jacob's entering 3 right there. Matt just rolled out onto the backstretch, so about a straightaway distance between them two. Jake's within a second and a half of Christian. Pretty much virtually matching lap times that last time by. Robert Holtman hit pit road at lap 90. In my head, I'm trying to figure out this strategy. I know the pit window's open now. We're at lap 110. And there comes Jacob. Jacob's on pit road. It's almost like I have one of those like fortune teller deals where I can see into the future. That, or I've just watched a lot of racing to understand strategy. One of the two, race fans. I'm not sure which one it is. It's also a fun challenge for me. Now, Jacob's hit pit road. He'll be the first car on lap down. We know Dylan, Christian, and Jake all have to come to pit road. The question becomes, when do they come to pit road? Right? Because Jacob, we know, can go 40 to the end here, and we know he's going to gain a ton of track position. I don't think you have to run hard here if you're Jacob. I think you want to run about a half a second, or maybe, you know, about a half second quicker lap to make up that 12-second deficit you was in. But if I'm Dylan, Christian, or Jake at this point, I'm coming to pit road at lap 115. I'm going to make this a 34-lap jaunt to the finish. But I'm in a commentary booth, not in the race car, so I just wouldn't want to give Jacob that much of an opportunity to. I also know that within 5-6 laps that they was able to run him down, but if he doesn't run hard and doesn't wear those tires out and conserves, it's going to be interesting. The Dylan's staying out here. I think this is a prime opportunity for Christian or Jake to do something different than what Dylan's doing. I mean, if you come down before him, you're going to be able to make up a little bit of time. I mean, right now you're about 5 seconds behind the race leader, 4.5. I guess I'm just wishing for one of these guys to do something different other than what Dylan's doing. They all like to stay out. This is interesting to me. I mean, Jacob is a second faster right now. I don't think he needs to really be running that hard. I really don't. I mean, these guys are going to have to take 4 tires. I don't think that a 2-tire call is the right call. I think you got to come in and take 4 tires. Matt's coming down the pit road. He's elected to pit from his 4th position. This is wildly interesting. Maybe these guys are going to pit with about 30 to go. I believe that I would have already hit pit road. If I'm the race leader, I probably would have already hit pit road. I'd at least try to catch 2nd and 3rd off guard, not let Jacob make up that much track position on me. In fact, there comes Dylan now. So an opportunity going the ways for, I believe, for Christian and Jake. I really would have liked to see them maybe hit a lap or 2 before Dylan. So now let's see where Jacob. So there comes Jacob there. Now let's see if he's able to unlap himself. These guys are still on pit road. Jacob's unlapped himself now. There he comes. They're still setting on pit road. The lefts are just now getting put onto the race cars. So Dylan's down, Dylan's down and away. So there comes Jacob. In fact, they're not going to lose any time to Jacob. They also didn't run as many laps as long either. So in fact, there he comes. There comes Christian. There comes Jake. Just trying to play out all these strategies in my head. So new race leader, Jacob Wilson. Now he was running about a second quicker when they were on old tires. So he would have made up about, I think they ran about 8 laps longer, 10 laps longer. So Dylan has gotten back around Jacob. You can see there he comes. So we're going to be at about 25 to go, give or take, here in a couple of laps. Now that the last green flag cycle has taken out. We're going to take our final commercial break of the evening, and then we'll get back to call the final 25 laps here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Welcome back, race fans. We are inside 25 laps to go. Market 24 laps right now. Your current points leader and race leader, Dylan Canova, out to about a 4-second lead. Over top, second place points runner right now and on track, Christian Proctor. Jacob Wilson currently running third. In tow is Jake Raven. You can see Jake's very quickly and rapidly catching the back end of the 51 machine. And there he goes. Matt Baines very solidly has been inside the top 5 tonight. Really solid performance out of his Royalty Motorsports number 72. Jorge Ledesma Jr. also another solid run inside the top 10. Currently riding in 6th position. I feel like this is another driver that's had his share of troubles throughout the chase, the latter parts of the regular season. Back-to-back race winner Brock Morris, both Michigan and Road America. Just a solid, dominating performance last week. Come in with high hopes tonight and just had that one costly pit road speeding penalty. And what could have been, we seen a little bit of the magic between him and Dylan earlier in the night. And it's just unfortunate that bad luck struck him the way that it did. Robert Altman, another. This might bring out a caution. It will. With 19 laps to go, I was just about to give Robert some credit for a very solid run riding inside the top 8. But let me tell you what this does, race fans. This puts this guy back on the lead lap, I do believe. I believe he will be the lucky dog. We'll see how it shakes out. Now, these drivers should have a set of tires. Now, if you're Dylan Canova, that's not what you wanted to see. However, if you're Jacob Wilson, if you're Brock Morris, if you're Matt Baines, if you're Jake Raven, that's 100% what you wanted to see. You wanted to see a caution there. Well, we got to watch it live. Let's go back. Let's check out. You can see he's just cut loose through the tri-oval, tries to drive it out and save it. I was watching there. If he was able to keep it off the racing surface, it might not have brought out a caution, but when he overcorrects right here, that ultimately was what was going to be the caution. He had no choice but to stop. And Davis, oh, I didn't get to see that hit. Let's back this up. I want to go on board with Davis Shively. You can see him spinning. He just comes back up. Davis made the decision to go to the top. And just what a hard hit that was. So, I believe that's going to bring all these drivers down to pit road. Actually, the 44 might be the lucky dog here. The 44 is the lucky dog. So that's going to keep Brock Morris one lap down. However, they're staying out, him and JD Van Kirk. So that's going to be a waiver round. What they're going to need is another caution, though. So they should be able to get the waiver round. I didn't realize that Jorge was actually in front of Brock there. So for the Brock Morris fans at home, you got the caution that you wanted, just did not get the lucky dog. So Dylan's going to win the race off pit road. Christian Proctor, Jake Raven, Jacob Wilson, Matt Baines, just the same as they come down pit road. Jorge's now coming to pit road. So JD Van Kirk and Brock Morris should get a waiver round. They're going to want to see a caution very quickly on this restart. We'll see if they do. They should get a waiver round, though. That's an interesting turn of events. It's going to give us about a 15-lap dash to the finish. It's a very untimely caution. If you're the race leader, Dylan Canova, you definitely did not want to see that. However, this is a late race caution we don't typically have here in the top tier Tricia's Learning Center Gen 4 series. So this is going to be interesting. We know how fast Dylan's been. We know Christian's had speed. Jake's had speed. Jacob now is going to be on matching tires. How much speed does he have? He's been off cycle of pit stops with these guys all night long. Now, Jacob's going to be able to be on a matching set of tires with these front 5. And in fact, there comes the wave around cars. So JD's several laps down, but if you're a Brock Morris fan, that helps out him, but he's going to need a caution very quickly. So yes, this changes the entire complexity of this race. Now, again, we've seen Dylan on the 2 restarts that we've had tonight, the initial start and then the first caution we've had. We've seen Dylan restart second on that outside line and carry a lot of momentum. Does Christian have a really good restart in him to be able to do and kind of pull the same thing on Dylan? Only time will tell. The lights is out on the pace car. It's going to make that hard left-hand turn, and there he goes. Turn the control over to Dylan Canova. Christian's going to need a really good restart, and he's not going to get it. Dylan's just going to launch and go. The green flag is back out. 15 laps to go. But here comes Jake Raven. Yeah, that 13's just not firing off. Jake's going to clear. The 51 also might be able to clear. He's not. There's a wreck behind. That might be another caution. I'm not 100% sure who that was. That was Jorge. That is not going to bring out a caution. I know I seen him crossed up with Brock. Let's see if we can catch it. You can see Jorge's coming through the middle there. The 05's got a ton of speed rolling the bottom. Oh, the 44 just gets loose. Yeah, the 44 just got loose. Brock had nowhere to go. That was almost the caution that the 05 needed. Let's get back live. There comes Dylan. Move Jake Raven to second. Jacob Wilson to third. Christian just did not fire off on those fresh tires. You can see Matt Baines right here behind him. Dylan out to almost a second lead. The battle heating up for second, though. In fact, Dylan Canova just ran his fastest lap of the race. So did Jake Raven. So did Jacob Wilson the last time by. They all respectively ran their fastest lap of the day. Dylan Canova just laid down the fastest lap of the race. And his fastest lap of the day, 29:36. He just laid down. He's about 2/10 quicker than these two gentlemen right here as it runs. So the battle for second heating up. Jake Raven, Jacob Wilson. See Matt Baines trying to get himself, Christian, into the wall there. Matt trying to reel these guys in. All these guys are within a half second to a second of each other. Hold on to it, Jacob. Oh, he's going to have a heck of a run off here. He's going to be able to get to the quarter. He's going to be able to hold the outside here on Jake. Up to the very tip top. He's going to have another beautiful run off. He's going to try to cross over here. There it comes. There's the crossover. He's going to have to sell that thing off in there. Jake did too, though. This is some of the best racing we've had all night. The 51 gets loose. The 37 gets loose. Both of them loose. That's going to allow the 13 to reel in a 37 just a little bit. Move Jacob Wilson up to second. Matching lap times right now, though, with Dylan Canova. So move Jake back one spot. That car's extremely loose. He's going to be under fire from Christian Proctor here. Christian going to sell it off in there. He's like to run the bottom. Jake's doing what he can to hold off that 13. He's just not going to have the momentum here. He was loose on the exit. He sells it off in there, though. Is he going to try to slide in front of Christian? In fact, he is. That might stall that run a little bit. Oh, he's not going to. Christian's going to get the crossover. I think the preferred line's going through the 37 here. He might be able to get a good run off and keep that car under him. In fact, it looked so much better. Oh, there's contact. They're wrecking. There will be no caution. In a beautiful jive that Jake Raven had going. You can see it. He's carrying the momentum off the corner here. A little loose on exit, but the 13 just pushes plumb up the racetrack a little bit. Yeah, there's a bobble out of the 13. The 13 got loose. The 37 was loose. Just ran out of racing room. So coming to 5 laps to go. Dylan Canova out front. Jacob Wilson moved Matt Baines up one spot. He's been able to get around the 13. And even taking the wave around, Brock Morris is still laying down pretty fast lap times, but almost the caution that he needed. Christian trying to close back into the back bumper of Matt Baines there. Lead out to 2 1/4 seconds, right about it. I know if you're Dylan Canova and you've seen those 2 incidents, man, your heart kind of sank just a little bit. Like, what else do I have to do? We know he got a very good restart. It's that 3rd caution there. Or the 2nd caution that we had of the night. Just about seen the 3rd one. To put it out to about 2 1/2 seconds. Call it 2.4. Jacob 2nd. Matt Baines. Heck of a performance out of that 72 tonight. You can see there comes Jake. It's going to be a heartbreaker for him. Had ran inside the top 3 all night long. Two laps to go for race leader Dylan Canova, and it's just been a stellar performance. When you're thinking about making a championship run, this is the performance that you want to have. It's going to be the white flag right here. 1 lap to go in the Tricia's Learning Center Gen 4 Top Tier Racing League Series right here on the Royalty Racing Network. You got Dylan Canova out front, Jacob Wilson, Matt Baines, Christian Proctor. That battle still rages on. But it has been a stellar performance out of our current point leader. You can see there he comes through 3 and 4. The most winningest driver we have in the series wins another one, and he wins Charlotte. Dylan Canova, Jacob Wilson 2nd. Matt Baines will come home 3rd. Christian Proctor 4th. And there comes Brock Morris 5th. And there's Jake Raven waiting for him to get back around here, but he will come home 6th. Jorge Ledesma Jr. to get back around there will be 7th. But an absolutely stellar performance out of the 70 machine here tonight. And I tell you, Jacob Wilson had a stellar performance too. Got an off cycle on his pit strategy. We'll talk to him about that when we interview him here. I believe he did kind of the same thing back in Darlington when we raced there some weeks ago. So a solid performance out of him, and a solid performance out of Matt Baines. Solid 3rd place run for him. Christian Proctor. That was an unfortunate turn of events for Raven. It was a great race overall. Congratulations, 70, on the win. Thanks for broadcasting as always. You're definitely welcome. I enjoy this this series, and the folks over here have been great to me. Definitely appreciate it. Great race, everyone. I wish you all a wonderful week. Thank you, Rachel. Definitely appreciate that. I thank you all for tuning in. Probably get tired of hearing me ramble, but I definitely appreciate it. Let's take a look at the race results. You can see Dylan Canova, Jacob Wilson, Matt Baines, Christian Proctor, Brock Morris, Jake Raven, Jorge Ledesma Jr., Robert Altman, J.D. Van Kirk, Davis Shively, Alex Anderson, Dan Ames, Kenny Kuko, Nick Raffini for the 14-car field here tonight. Let's see if we can get these drivers in here, have a conversation with them. Let's start with Matt. Matt, it's Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I promise I'm not on mute, and I haven't been all night long. That's a good thing. But what a great run you had tonight, man, right? I mean, just very consistently ran inside the top 5 there, and then you had that contact between Christian and Jake that opened up an opportunity for you to slide into third, and just ran out of laps. But overall, a solid night for you in that 72 machine.
Man, it was fun. That was a loose race car for sure, and I know you guys, you up in the booth could definitely tell that. I mean, they were sliding all over the place. And I wanted just to give myself a chance. I was trying to keep the car as clean as I possibly could. I got some damage early on, but it sorted itself out. Just kind of drove the car and tried to put it in a good spot.
Yeah, and so, we did. I touched on it quite a bit, how loose these race cars are, especially around here. Was there any type of a difference from the transition from the daytime to the nighttime here at Charlotte with the way the car handled, or did it free up even more? What did it feel like from a driver's standpoint with that transition from day to dark?
It got a lot better. It seemed a lot like on edge, but in a more controlled manner. Like I'm looking, everybody set their fastest lap after just about lap 130, and that was really when it started to get dark. So I think after we put those tires on, everything just locked down. It just felt great.
So we're heading to Bristol, and then we're gonna be rolling out west to Las Vegas. What's the rest of the season look like for you and the 72 team as we have 2 more races left here in the season?
Well, Bristol's going to be whoever can keep their car straight. I feel it's going to be a very, very chaotic, bumper bashing, just like Martinsville was. It's in Las Vegas. That's going to be a very it's going to be a very fun track. I think that the middle to outside could definitely work if tire strategy plays a very big part in that. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're just going to try to get as many points as we can and see what we can do with it.
Well, heck yeah, man. Listen, congratulations. Very solid. Like I said, you was inside the top 5 about all night long, and then had this kind of the seas open up there for you, and was able to bring her home third. You got any, friends, family, sponsors, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, and I want to touch on that. That it was funny. I had said right before that incident happened, I was like, I'm in a great spot if something happened, and I kid you not, 30 seconds later it happened. So it was a great run for the 72 RMS car. SM Racing RMS, they've given me great cars this season. It's just trying to put it in a great spot, and want to thank my family, of course. They're big supporters of this, and my lovely partner who sat by my side the entire race, cheered me on. So that was it was very encouraging. So this one, this goes out to them. So.
Well, heck yeah, man. Listen, congratulations on that solid top 3 third place finish you got tonight, man. And I look forward to seeing what you can do at Bristol when we roll into the last great Coliseum.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bubba. That is Matt Baines. And again, he ran solidly inside the top 5 and brought himself home in a top 3, finishing third here tonight. And just an overall great run. Let's see. Where's Jacob? Jacob, it's Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
Man, listen to me real quick, all right? Listen. I tell you what, you did this to, I think it was you that did this to me at Darlington, right? With the pit strategy and the whole thing. And then you got me here again tonight, and I'm sitting here and I'm trying to play this strategy out, and just, you got that caution there at the end. And I tell you what, man, you had speed, and the fastest laps of the race was being laid down after that last restart, right? And you had speed, you laid down your fastest lap of the night. Take us through your evening, man. This 150 lapper, bringing it home second. Just take us through the evening and what it means, to park your car in second place tonight.
No, it was a pretty solid run. I kind of went with the alternate strategy because I knew Dylan and Brock, and I knew they'd probably have the most raw pace. I figured I could probably be third or so, just on normal pace. It was looking like it was going to kind of even out to, especially after that, the way that first run was trending. Like me and Brock were kind of trending forward, and everybody else was kind of coming back to us. But I'd kind of thought before going into this race, I'd kind of strategize it kind of like you'd do a road course and just kind of back the fuel up from the end. And, it put us out front at times, and, it definitely fell off towards the end of the run. So, we definitely needed that caution in that last run to put us up here in second. But overall, it was a good night. Charlotte's one of my favorite tracks. It's just, you get a lot of different types of runs here. It's, you can run kind of all over the track. It's kind of bottom predominant tonight, it seemed like, with this car. But overall, it was a good race, and, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought, especially with a Gen 4 car with the low downforce, high horsepower, that the middle top would have definitely worked itself in. You're right, it really didn't. But I even said earlier in the race, I like what you did, because you can't win the race doing what the leaders do, right? You have to take a chance. Exactly. And you have to do something different. And you was the guy to do that tonight. And if you go back and you listen to the broadcast, you'll see I'm begging Christian and some of these guys to do something different other than Dylan. Yeah, I think you did everything right, man. And you got the caution when you needed it. You brought her home in second. But now next week's a whole different animal. We're going to be headed to Bristol. So the thoughts on heading into Bristol, or if you're going to be able to race, the last great Coliseum, what's the mindset heading there?
Bristol tends to be one of my better tracks. We've had some good runs here over the course of top tier. I think this would probably be our fourth time going there. I think we've gone there every season. And my very first time there in top tier, put it on outside pole, finished third. Had a chance to win in season 3 in the truck, but I made a mistake towards the end and got some damage. But we had winning pace, and then last season in the Gen 6, I kind of went on an alternate strategy, surprise, and I led a good portion of the race and had almost came all the way back from almost being a lap down, because the whole last part of the race went green, and so I almost came back to the win, but I think I ended up third. But so I'm looking forward to Bristol. I like short tracks. That's kind of my bread and butter for the most part. I feel the most comfortable there, but I'm getting better on these 1.5 miles. I'm going to break through and win some more of these, I hope. But yeah, we're looking forward to Bristol.
Well, listen, man, congratulations on that second place finish. And I'm glad you're out here racing, man, because you always make it interesting for me up here in the booth. And I'm definitely glad to have you out here and give me something different to talk about. It's definitely appreciated. Listen, take the time, man, give some shout outs, thank some people on that second place run tonight, man.
Yeah, I got to thank all my sponsors that have helped me this year, get me into karting, and, I put them on my iRacing cars. Most of them are coming back with me next year, but we got Circle W Farms, Floors by Dennis, the No Names. I got Team Parm Transportation. They're coming on next year for my go-kart season, so I'm proud to have them on board. Don't have them on my cars yet on iRacing, but they're coming. Victory Fuel, we have a discount code for 10% off. It's revved up 51. You can go pick you up some Victory Fuel. Keep you hydrated. And then all my guys at Revved Up, we work hard together, and, we try to help each other out, and, we have fun, and, 9 times out of 10, there's a car that's got revved up on it in Victory Lane. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my team. I'm proud that these guys are willing to represent me and, slap my logo on their car. So that's pretty much it. I thank everybody that watches these. A lot of my family, friends tune into these, and supporters. So thank y'all for putting it on.
Well, congratulations again, man, on your second place finish, and I'll see you next week.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, bub. I tell you, what a great young man. From a karter to a karter, dude, I wish you all the best in your karting career. I had a lot of fun doing it, won a lot of races, and karting's a lot of fun. And again, congratulations to Jacob Wilson on his second place finish. Let's bring our race winner in here, Dylan. It's Brandon up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
We'll mark it 14 total wins here in the Top Tier Racing League. I believe this is, I don't know, what do you have, 5 now, I think, in the season? I think's what it is, at 4 or 5?
believe it's 5.
Is it 5? I think that's what it is. But listen, I hopped into the Discord channels, the team channels tonight, and was giving everybody, hey, good luck tonight. I promise not to be on mute, blah blah blah, and we had a very quick conversation, and that was, you got a 10-point lead, now you got to put the head down and get to work, right? And left it at that, and you did exactly what you needed to tonight, right? A couple of weeks ago, we talked about getting out of Road America. We've seen some of the troubles that you had there, and even then you still finished inside the top 5 there last week. But you were looking forward to getting past Road America, into Charlotte, into Bristol, into Las Vegas, all of which you thought was winnable races, and tonight you was able to claim victory here at Charlotte.
Yeah, I was lucky to rebound last week. I kind of lucked into that 4th. I've made so many mistakes early in that race and had to play catch up the whole race. But obviously we survived it in the end. Came in the night. I think Brock was the better car, especially on the long run. I think we might have had a little bit more raw speed, but I don't know what he's found or what he's doing to just get the tires to last. But it'd definitely be back to the drawing board. So we kind of lucked in that he had that penalty early in the race and never really got the chance to fully rebound from it. At the end there, I was just praying for no caution, because if it was going to be bad, because he was going to have probably the only set of fresh tires in the field. So obviously try and figure out where we're lacking on some of that long run speed compared to him. Thankfully, he's not running for the championships. That helps. Obviously, at the end of the day, we're racing against the other championship drivers, but obviously you want to come out here and win. So after that, it was just hit marks. I was a little bit more conservative than I normally am getting on the pit road, after how Martinsville bit me earlier in the season when I was out front dominating. So just trying to eliminate any mistakes, even if that means giving up a little bit of time here and there, because they obviously could see what a pit road penalty will do to your race.
Yeah, so take us through that, right? Like he was at one point in time, he was trying to unlap himself by a lap to get it within to being a lap down, and U2 was racing pretty hard there, and it actually allowed at the time, I believe it was Christian Proctor and Jake Raven, I believe it was about a 2 1/4 second lead that had dropped it within to about a 1 1/4 second. Was that a, I want to see kind of where I'm at speed wise next to Brock, or is that just trying to keep him 2 laps down?
A little bit of both. I learned a lot about what I could do on the top if somebody was to get to me late in a run. Obviously, the top was just really good at defending the pass. So there was a little bit of information there. And then 2, obviously, at the end of the day, there's 5 bonus points for winning. So obviously, if we can take out probably the fastest car and definitely the closest to being able to beat us, just heads up. If you can keep him kind of down and out of the fight, that's obviously a help. Obviously, he was trying to balance. I was kind of watching what the gap was, the cars behind us. So that I didn't want to put myself in a spot where, worst case scenario, we get together and wreck. Like, that is nightmare scenario. You end up out of the race trying to keep somebody 2 laps down when it's not worth it. So a little bit of both, trying to keep your competition out of it while also using it to learn a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, and you had talked about not wanting a caution, right? After the second one we had there. I don't know if you're aware, but there was 2 very potential situations that could have led into cautions. Neither of them did, but did you know just exactly that there was that going on the racetrack at the time? There was 2 different incidents, but did you know, and was you just hoping, please, no caution here?
I kind of heard there were some incidents, didn't really get a whole lot of information. I think especially once the last set of tires are on the car, it's pretty much head down, do whatever you can to keep it out front. So, worrying too much about what's going on behind you gets you in trouble. I did that. I think after we pitted the 3rd time, I was trying to set the fastest lap for that bonus point and ended up smacking the wall out of 4. So I think once I got to that point, it was just heads down and just try and do what we can to hold it up front. But obviously just hope one doesn't come out, because if Brock gets to come down and put 4 fresh tires on it, he's probably driving right through the field and blowing the doors off of us.
So we're going to be heading to Bristol, and then we're going to be heading to Las Vegas. You did everything you needed to do tonight. What's the game plan heading into the last great Coliseum before we head to Vegas? Is that just going to be a minimize mistakes and not let Christian and Raffini and those guys, gain any extra amount of points, just eliminate mistakes? What's the game plan?
I like to think that's one of the tracks that we will have a little bit of an advantage over Brock, and some of the others is the short tracks. That's obviously where my specialty, is. So I think we have to go out there and try and park it in victory lane again, because you just don't know what can happen at the 1.5 miles. Obviously Bristol is unpredictable and can be chaos as well, but honestly, Martinsville was a pretty good race and step up from what it was the last time we went there. So just can't rely on it just being a wreck fest, just ride around and wait. I think we have to be aggressive there and try and get another 5 points, because if we can get another 5 points and go into Vegas with a 20-something point lead, it's pretty safe that where you can just kind of just ride and do good and just not get wrecked out and win the championship. Where you don't get that, then you have to go try and win it on the racetrack at Vegas, and it can get sketchy. Obviously, we saw tonight, and one pit road speeding penalty would be all it takes.
Listen, congratulations again on win number 5, I believe it is, of the season. Again, I did everything that you needed to do. Take the time, give those shout outs, man, and enjoy this victory, and start preparing for Bristol.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, thank you for putting on the broadcast, all the fans out there watching, Tricia's Learning Center for sponsoring the series, all the admins that give us the place to race, all the guys at Hyperspeed that I've been working with all season, everybody back at Revved Up, Victory Fuel, Circle W Farms, Forged by Dennis, and just everybody who's on the car makes this possible, and all drivers for showing up. I'd like to see 2 good fields for the last 2 races of the season. Tonight was a little on the low. Hopefully we get some good car counts for the last 2 races and have some fun.
Well, listen, congratulations, man, and I'll see you when we roll into the last great Coliseum in Bristol, Tennessee.
Thank you. I'll see you there.
And that is 5-time season winner Dylan Canova. I tell you, next week is going to be a wild one, and for the race fans still watching at home, you're not going to want to miss that one. Dylan did everything he needed to do. He should be able to gain some points going into next week, and may very well have a chance to clinch what could be a championship. On behalf of Royalty Racing Network, Top Tier Racing, Tricia's Learning Center Gen 4 Series, I want to say thank you to all the race fans at home for tuning in. All the admins here that take the time to put this on. I definitely appreciate all of you all. And we will see everybody right back here 8:15 next Tuesday night when the Top Tier group heads to the last great Coliseum at Bristol, Tennessee. I'll see everybody next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.